Welcome back to War Thunder and welcome aboard the P-80. Yes, I'm visiting the American low-tier jets. Yeah, this guy is an absolute pro. So, the P-80. It is one of those jets that has a good reputation from some people and a bad reputation from others. I think I know where it comes from. And to be honest, I think the major topic of today's video will be obviously the battle, but furthermore, which kind of upgrades that you have to take. Now, I was always in the opinion that for a jet, you need all the upgrades, except for, you know, the additional bombing loadout. But then, you know, that's just if you play air RB. If you take it into tank RB, different thing matters. This is the first battle after around about 5 to 6 battles where I tried the stealth belt that I switched to the ground targets belt. And yeah, that is a very important change because the stealth belt in theory should be better. But the ground targets belt seems to be more effective. Now, this is not the only battle that I played with the ground targets belt. I played some other battles again to, think if that was just an oddity. Now, to exclude statistical oddities, you need to play like, I don't know, 50, 60, 100 games. And that's just, you know, the realm of upgrading it. I have to say, for a 7.0 plane, the upgrades are not too expensive. 22,000 for a tier 4, 15,000 for a tier 3, tier 2 RP. That is not too much. That's actually doable, I have to say. Now, that's for air RB. So, the armament of this plane are 6 M2 Browning 50 caliber machine guns with 1,800 rounds between them. And the maximum speed is here listed in my current upgrade way with 856 kilometers an hour. So this plane is practically faster than a Meteor, but can not really escape a upgraded attacker. Let's put it that way. And Me-262s, well, they are strange because the first one you can compete against, but the reward one, the A2A, is a beast. And I often mistaken them. I mistaken the A2A for the A1A, and then suddenly he pulled out a lot of energy that I didn't expect. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not a specialist in jets, but I thought I would know the Me-262s at least. Now, I love my reward one and also the, you know, regular one. And the regular one is fully upgraded, haven't flown it in a long time. But the reward one is not fully upgraded, but I still think it's a bit more powerful than the A1A. So why do I take out the P-80A5? Well, simply it's the armament. And the armament is different from practically any other nation's jets. The Russians have the dual high caliber weapon system. Now, if the 23s would work, or maybe they do and I haven't tested them, in fact I did not have tested them with jets, but with other planes, and I was not really convinced. Maybe that will change within the next few days, whatever, you know, it's changing around a lot with the performance. And also the 37, the stock spread, the actually low amount of ammunition, the long lead and so on, because of the low muzzle velocity, relative slow muzzle velocity. And yeah, that is not really something to desire, especially when I have flown the British jets, the Attacker and the Meteor F Mark III in particular, which both I have now upgraded. And they have a fantastic weapon system of 420mm, good muzzle velocity, easy to aim, good damage output. And yeah, the 50 cals, they are always a little bit forwards and backwards in performance. I have surprising results in one battle in terms of good, and the next battle they just spark all over the place. And it is not really a thing of what you shoot, where you shoot, and how your ping is. It's complete random. It's complete random. So, at least in my experience so far, which is a bit discouraging. In this battle, however, I tried my best. And you can see I climbed. And now the upgrades come into place. And again, for the weapons, I did in this battle use the ground targets belts. It was not because of the tracer, but it seems like the AP does actually a bit more damage since the last update, at least in my experience. And that was a pilot snipe. Could I have done this with the stock belt as well? Well, that was a highly risky shot in the first place. Yeah, I never got hit that shot. But, you know, it's a bit result. But it was not the only pilot snipe that I made overall. Now, then there comes an experience into place with the Arado, the C3 variant. And that was, I always thought that the fuselage repair is not that important because it's a tier 1 upgrade. And I had many difficulties in handling with the C Arado. In fact, it was the upgrade that I upgraded last that completely changed the Arado. Now, if that was kind of a symbiosis effect, that upgrade then made all the other upgrades even more work, I don't know. But then the handling of the plane, not so much the overall top speed and so on, but the wobbling was reduced. That improved massively, and then it turned into that desired killing machine that you actually could land your shots. Which previously it had the Focke-Wulf effect, that you just couldn't stay on target, and it always sidetracked a lot. Now here I'm on the tail of an Arado 234C3, the plane that I talked about. And I tried to make the engines hit, and you can see that this plane still wobbles a little bit around. But finally, I can make the killing hit. He's on fire. Good. Let him burn. And there is a Horton behind me. How do you count the Horton? Well, you just roll and then pull the elevator. And I hit him as well. And that was an engine hit. And that was a mistake, actually, that I went into the stall maneuvering with a Horton. If a Horton pilot knows how to go into a stall fight, well, it's pretty hard to then, you know, find yourself in the reverse situation. Because a Horton is a really great plane, in my opinion, for an experienced player. And now, how do you counter him? Well, you do rolling maneuvers. This is something that a Horton has a lot of difficulties countering. And now that was a bad mistake that I switched over to the F-84B. Should I have done this? Was this a dick move to actually leave my team comrade alone? Certainly to a certain degree, but I value an F-84 higher in terms of combat effectiveness than a Horton in terms of running them down. But then I went out of ammunition, so that was a mistake. So back to finally the upgrades. I take it again from the perspective of RRB. And obviously you need to have sharp weapons. So the first upgrade that you should get is the offensive 12mm belt. No doubt about that. The stock belt is not that convincing. Either universal, ground targets, or stealth. I would avoid tracers, honestly. And the universal and stealth, well, if you prefer the stealth belt, but you have difficulties leading, use the universal one. And the ground targets, well, it's just simply the more AP. It seems like the incendiary tracer or the incendiary rounds, well, they don't perform as good as the pure AP rounds. Especially in head-ons, the AP, well, the enemy plane rams himself practically into an AP round. So that leads also to a lot of engine damage and a lot of pilot snipes. At least in my experience. Then just go for the fuselage repair instead of the compressor, and then go for the airframe instead of the new boosters, and maybe even for the wings repair instead of the engines. And well, you know, the new 12mm are a thing. You should also research them. Weapon spread is reduced, and you also don't overheat in long bursts. And then I think the cover is one of those things that You know, within the first battle I had, just after I researched that, the plane just made the difference. And the difference is so important that I need to make a video about it. So I made 10 minutes rambling around. So now we come how to play the plane. Well, it's a fast plane once fully upgraded. And I think all the modules are important, but not equally important, as I just said. The engine upgrades seem to be not the decisive factor. And especially when you're stuck, you think to yourself, are you crazy? Those are the most important upgrades because I can't gain speed. Yes, that's true, but that's also the ME262 and the Arado effect. Your handling and your energy retention improve with the upgrades, like the fuselage repair and the wings repair and also the cover. And I think the effect was so great after I researched it that I think that's the fact. Yeah, and now I thought to myself, oh man, the enemy bombers have screwed it up. They just they didn't bomb the last base. I have time to repair. And the second I dropped, I looked at the minimap, they destroyed the last base, and I'm thinking to myself, oh god, please, please, please repair the goddamn plane and let me climb. And this is why I am actually going sideways. I just looked into the leaderboard to see who dropped the bombs, and he's at the bottom of the leaderboard, not for long. And you can see I'm going parallel to the actual visible runway. And I was bombed lately too often by B-29s, you know, out of the blue, so to speak, quite literally, that I would fall for it again. Now, as a normal bomber, they would bomb around the blue circle. Even from high altitude, it's very easy to see. So the beginning and the end of the runway are not targeted that much. So, and now we have just one enemy left, and we are 3 people. And now you can see from the start again how this plane accelerates and also retains later on the energy. And I think that the cover had a greater impact on this overall performance than the actual engine upgrades. How can this be? Well, simply when you don't have the fuselage repair and the wing repair and the cover, it feels like you're flying through thick soup. Okay? So there is a lot of drag on the plane. It's like having bad ground resistances with a tank. It doesn't really matter how much horsepower to ton ratio you have if the tracks sink into the ground very easily and they are not very wide. This is why certain tanks with practically the same horsepower to ton ratio have much better acceleration, maneuverability and top speed on the same terrain than others. And same goes for planes. And now let's come back a little bit to the playstyle of this plane. First of all, you need to gain speed. Jets live and die by speed, except for certain ones like the Horton that can escape temporarily in dogfights and then hopefully zoom out again because of the great top speed. But you know, that's a strange argument. And then also the Meteor, the first one, because it's such a great dogfighter, it has a limited top speed that gets even surpassed by certain props under certain circumstances, but it behaves more or less like a very good prop. So yeah, and now I got the message that the enemy is attacking the airfield, and now I see it in the terms of the bomb load. Know your bomb loads of the enemies. That's a B-29 for sure, and he is obviously at high altitude, roundabout above our airfield, and I spot him right now behind the clouds. I can see the black dot in the clouds. That's a render problem, but you still can, you know, use it to actually artificially magnify an enemy plane. Now, again, this is also a bit strange to say that a plane lives and dies by its speed. What does this mean? Practically you're a boom and zoom aircraft, but you don't have the real boom in armament. You need to continuously tickle the enemy with the 50 cals. And this is why American planes don't have initial that much love, especially when you come from aircraft like the F7F or the F8F1B, the Bearcat, because they have 20 millimeters and a lot of ammunition, and they can spray and they can accelerate, and they have overall great handling. And then the jets feel like a downgrade. Now, the line on which you have to walk to make the jet perform is rather thin and punishing. And so, yeah, I mean, there are much more iconic planes in the game, like the Me-262, and, well, yeah, the Horton is a player base favorite for a good reason. Then there are also the MiG-9s, especially the late ones seem to perform very well lately. I have to check it out for sure. I'm very interested in how this thing performs with a lot of upgrades. And yeah, so I think you should side climb. And you should also do the zoom climb. What does this mean? You start from the airfield and you keep altitude. You take a lot of speed on, and then you transfer the speed of around about 600-700 kilometers an hour into altitude up until you reach 400. Then you level out and do it again. But you lose engine performance with altitude. So, you know, the first zoom climb is really great, the second one not so bad, and then the third one lets you down, and then you should be around about 4,500 meters. And that is where you really feel the difference, because now with the engine upgrades I did not really feel that much difference. I felt the difference with the cover. And the difference was great. Suddenly this plane works. That was not the very best kind of approach, but still I made it. And now I'm making something very stupid. I tailsit a B-29. But I feel I have to do it. It's late game. If he goes back to airfield, he's done. I'm aiming for the engines. And then the outer one, yeah, burn. Burn until you die, and then burn more. But I have to give this guy credit. He did not space climb. He did not space climb. And now those two fires do the work. And he goes down for my third kill. What a nice result. So when the plane is stock, it's absolutely horrible, and too much performance is in the upgrades. But the most important upgrades are not the engine upgrades, but the cover, the fuselage repair, and the wings repair. Believe me, I felt the difference. And when the plane is fully upgraded, the performance is so much better, so much more in a working state, even compared to prop upgrades. If you always thought that prop upgrades would be terrible, yeah, you have not seen anything yet. And that's the battle. So in that respect, the P-80 is a good starter jet. Once it's fully upgraded, stock, it teaches you nothing. And that is the flaw of the implementation of jets. Now the post-battle results for 3 air targets, I got 71,000 silver lines and 5,720 research points. And you can see, you actually see a lot of progress for jets. I wish I could see the progress with tanks as well, securing me second place with 2,317 score points. So that's it for me. I hope you got the message. I hope I could help you a little bit with that. And yeah, give this video a like if you did, subscribe if you want to see more. Let me know in the comment section what are your experiences with jets, and what would you recommend in terms of upgrade way. And you know, is this just an observation with the P-80, or does this also apply to the higher tier jets? Let me know, especially the more experienced jet pilots amongst you. So that's it for me today. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and we'll see each other in the skies of War Thunder.